evening, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Okay. I'm Kathleen Farrell, and I'm the moderator tonight. And on behalf of the League of Women Voters, we were honored to be asked again to hold this important candidate forum for the Lindbergh School District. Special thanks to Andrea Hosenfeld for helping us. And remember, as you listen to these candidates, that you can vote for 3 out of the 4 of them, and what you're voting for is a 3-year term, okay? So everybody's got that? So let me introduce you to the candidates, and they are in the order that they appear on the ballot. So, Mr. Matt Alonzo, Mr. Richard Breeding, Ms. Christy Watz, and Mr. Andrew Lawson, okay? Now, I want to thank candidates for participating in this, because we're in a time where candidates may not want to face the people who vote for them and who they work for. So here they all are, and we believe that the best way for you to get the information you need about who you want to vote for is to hear candidates in person answer your questions. Not a media personality asking questions, but your questions. And so that's why we hold these forums. The questions have all been taken from those that you submitted. And I will tell you that I received 84 questions. I received one at 3:32 this afternoon. So clearly, people had things they wanted to know. And also, you can take cards from our volunteers. If you have another question that you're thinking about, just hold up your hand, and you'll see Ms. Hansen back here, and she will bring you a card and a pen and write 1 question per card, okay? So we don't come up with any of these questions. The district doesn't come up with any of these questions. And the questions came to us. So these are going to be your questions. Here are the rules. Starting in ballot order, each candidate is going to give a 2-minute opening statement. Then in rotating order, so for the first question, we would start with Mr. Breeding there, and he would answer first the first question, then I just keep going down the line, and hopefully I won't mess up and go out of turn. But if I do, just, correct me and I'll try to fix it. We've got our timekeeper here. She is a very tough woman, I will tell you, and she will take no nonsense, and what you will see is a sign that says 30 seconds left, and then a sign that says stop. I'm a retired college professor of public communication and a college administrator. I can cut you off pretty fast. So I know none of you will go over. So my job is to retain the option to combine some of your questions, and I spent a fair amount of time going through your 84 questions so that we get to as many topics as you want. But I'm also going to tell you if 15 people or 20 people have asked the same question, I'm going to try to give you a sense of that, because that's meaningful to me, that there was some weight to the concern about a particular issue. We're going to determine which questions are asked, and we're going to attempt in good faith to try to cover the issues that are important to your district. So, with that in mind, is everybody ready? And just think, you're going to think of a question while you're hearing them. So just raise your hand, we'll bring you a card and a pen, and I think we're ready. We're going to start with you, Mr. Alonzo.
All right, thank you. First, let me take the opportunity to thank you, the League of Women Voters, for moderating tonight's event and for the district for hosting this event. I do feel like it's a good thing for you to hear our voices and hear what we perceive is going on in the district and what we would plan on doing. I have been married since 2002. My wife and I found our home in Lindbergh in 2003. At the time, we thought it was going to be our starter home, but it has since become our forever home. We are even in the process of trying to remodel our house and making it even a home that we can stay in even beyond having children in the district. Speaking of children, we do have 3 children. 2 of our children have already graduated from Lindbergh. Our oldest is a junior at in Kirksville at Truman State University. And then our middle child is a freshman at Missouri State University in Springfield. And then we have a son who's in 8th grade at Sperring. Lindbergh has done a wonderful job preparing our students in their education, preparing them for the future. And that is the reason why I first ran for the board in 2017. Knowing that living in the district was important to my wife and I, we wanted to make sure that we were giving back to the district in any way we can. And I felt in 2017 that it was a good opportunity for me to serve the district in that way. I am a career educator. I teach math and computer science at Parkway North High School, and I've been doing that since 2003. I feel like my job as an educator has given me a lot of insight and has allowed me to make a presence on the board and contribute in many different ways. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Breeding.
Thank you. I'm going to start with a negative, but you'll get where I'm going. I was an alderman in Crestwood for 27 years and an acting mayor there for 6 months in 2004. In those 27 years, I haven't experienced the hate, the threats, the misinformation that I've experienced over the last 5 days via Facebook. So take that for what it's worth, but I'm embarrassed on everything that's going on Facebook, both sides. It's just out of control. And I've offered my cell phone number millions of times, and only one person's called me, thank you. They just want to find a got you moment or something. It's just weird. So if you see my Facebook page kind of toning it down, is because call me 24/7. I don't care. Text me. My number's out there. But the reason I'm running is because my Lindbergh story starts with my dad graduating from here in 1962. And then they bought a house in Crestwood. I started kindergarten at Crestwood Elementary in 1972. So I have the experience of being an alderman, acting mayor, parent. My kids went here. My brothers went here. 2 uncles went here. And for someone to ever accuse me of not being Lindbergh through and through, I don't know about that. I worked here for 10 years. It was a great ride. The reason I'm running is because the district belongs to the people, and the district is in this transition where there's too many people, too polarized. You know, it's time to just get along and fix things. And so one of my things is, I love Lindbergh, but I'm not going to drink the Kool-Aid. And I'll use my experience as a student, parent, employee, alderman to help the district succeed. My theme is the party's over because no more waste, no more guaranteed contracts, and one of my favorite things is no more special agreements. Thank you.
Ms. Walls.
It's Watts.
Ms. Watts.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Hi, Christy Watz. Nice to meet you all, and thank you all for attending tonight on this cold, dreary night when we could all be reading a book, right? Or watching a movie. I am connected to the district. We've been here for 25 years. We didn't necessarily target Lindbergh, but our real estate agent knew because he had students that went here and found us the perfect home in Lindbergh. So we've raised 3 children here. One is 23 and going to be graduating with her degree in speech pathology. And we did this in 5 years instead of 6 due to our curriculum, which I'm very proud of. My middle one is 20. She's attending Mizzou and just got accepted to the nursing program over there, which is a really big deal. There's 700 applicants and she made it in. They only accepted 120. So any future nurses, it's competition over there. My third daughter is a sophomore at Lindbergh High School, and super proud of her. She's a soccer player. Hopefully she will bring you a good season this year and some winning games. I'm not going to say we're going to state, but you know, let's try it out. While I've been on the board, I just wanted to share the things that I'm most proud of. I'm very proud of all of our new facilities and upgrades that we've done there. I'm proud of our real world learning curriculum. And I am also proud of our positive school environment. I think this is maybe 6th year in a row that we've been nominated as best place to work. And I think that's a really honor when you talk about somewhere to work. So in conclusion, I would like to continue my work. I would like to continue to do what's best for students, staff, and our community. Thank you.
Okay. And finally, Mr. Lawson.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Again, thank you for coming out and hearing what we have to say, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for moderating for us. My name is Andrew Lawson. I'm a husband, a disabled Army combat veteran, an IT leader, and a small business owner. But my most important title is Lindbergh Dad. Our family's journey here was intentional. We moved to this district because our previous school wasn't meeting my child's needs. We were looking for a place that didn't just see a student as a number, but as an individual. Lindbergh provided that, and they did it well. This community welcomed us with open arms. And I ran for this board 3 years ago to ensure that every family, whether they grew here or moved here for a better life, feels that same support. My why hasn't changed. That's why I'm here again today. Is I want every family to have that same welcoming experience and know that their child is going to thrive here. I come from a long line of educators. I'm not an educator myself, but I have educators on both sides, and I bring unique professional perspective to the board. As a small business owner and technology leader, I focus on results and fiscal transparency. I'll treat your tax dollars the same way I treat the bottom line of my business. I've championed in the last 3 years the Diploma Plus initiative, which is one of the things I'm really proud of. Just last year, it helped save the class of 2025, or helped secure the class of 2025 over $24 million in scholarships. That's astounding if you think about the savings that brings our community. I've helped oversee the investment of our Prop R funds to bring the facilities current while enhancing safety, security, and efficiency across the district. And because my children, now in kindergarten, 3rd, and 8th grade, rely on our schools to meet their individual needs, I have a personal stake in the long-term success of our school. So I chose Lindbergh because I know how much it matters when a school gets it right. And I hope you'll remember my name on the 7th and put a check mark next to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we're going to start with the questions. And as I said, we're going to start with you, Mr. Breeding. A number of people asked, what would be your one major focus in the next year after you're elected?
The major focus would, that's a good question. The major focus would be to, since I'd be new to the board, I have a little learning curve. But after that, it would just be ensuring that our taxpayer dollars are spent wisely on the children, all children. I don't have a favorite. I also didn't mention I have 2 children that went to Lindbergh. One graduated in 2016 and one graduated in 2018. And their experience here is phenomenal. And it's also fun to see how they still hang out with Lindbergh people after Lindbergh people. As a matter of fact, my daughter's getting married to a Lindbergh boy December 19th. So we're Lindbergh through and through. But the focus would be to ramp up and make sure we're not spending foolishly.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Watts.
Well, I don't know if anybody's been watching the legislation, but I think our next 2-year focus is going to be on funding. The state is reforming the real estate property taxes, and that directly affects our income. So that's going to be something we have to really focus on and watch to make sure we can continue to provide everything that we do today.
Okay, Mr. Lawson.
Yeah, like Christy said, it's funding is probably going to be the top one. There's 2 pieces of that, right? There's the Prop R funds that I mentioned earlier, making sure we land that ship, delivering all the promises that we said we were going to deliver, well on track there, and then also being prepared for whatever comes out of Jefferson City. Christy and I both went up to the Capitol yesterday, and we're talking with legislators about some of the stuff that is being discussed, and it's concerning, but Lindbergh is positioned well, and I think we will be able to navigate whatever comes, and again, put the focus on what's best for our students.
Okay, Mr. Alonzo.
Yeah, I would also agree with the funding, but to also add, I would like to also continue the real-world learning opportunities that we have been given to our high school students. For example, our daughter, who is also majoring in nursing, was able to take an EMS class last year, her senior year, where she was able to do ride-alongs on an ambulance and learn the real skills necessary to become an EMS. And can even take the test to become an EMS as well. And those are just a few, that's just one example of the real world learning opportunities that we have for our students. And so just ensuring that we continue moving in that direction.
Okay, we're going to start with you this time, Ms. Watts. And there were 17 questions about the special school district. So I'm breaking them into 2 questions, and I think that will get us through everybody's concerns. The first one, I'm going to ask you a yes or no question. So it's either yes or no, so that we can spend more time on the substantive question. And that is, that there is a bill in the legislature, House Bill 2937, which would allow a school board of Education by majority vote to decide whether or not they were in or out of the special school district. So let's start with you. Would you support that, yes or no?
I would.
Mr. Lawson?
I want to clarify, yes, but that bill says that the Board of Education can vote to ask their community to vote if they are in or out.
Yeah.
It gives us the option to bring the choice to the community
Yeah.
versus being stuck. And
And I'm going to get
for
to that in a second here.
Yep.
Mr. Alonzo?
Yes, I do support it.
Mr. Breeding?
No.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
So the second question is this. If you did support this, or if you oppose it, what kind of formal advisory system would you set up for the parents to weigh in, particularly parents who have accommodation agreements through the special school district? So what kind of formal system would you put in place before you voted to get their advice? And then, as one of you said, this could go on the ballot. So we're going to start with you, Mr. Lawson.
As with anything that we do that involves something of this scale, we're going to go to the community and find out what are the concerns and ensure that we do the work we need to do in order to build out a strong plan. Nobody wants to take on special education and not have a solid plan to do it. Because again, these are our students, and our students matter the most. All 3 of my students get SSD services. All 3 of my children are in these programs as well. It matters. We're going to go talk to the community. We're going to talk to as many people as we can to make sure that it makes sense before we propose it as an option. This isn't a knee-jerk reaction.
Okay, Mr. Alonzo.
Yeah, I would agree with Mr. Lawson, and then also add to it that should this bill pass in this session, this is not a change that we would be able to make even in the next school year. There would need to be that year to investigate, whether it's meeting with parents, which I would highly recommend, meeting with SSD staff, meeting with Lindbergh staff, talking about the logistics behind how we would even take that on, I think would be necessary within that year. And then at that point, we as a board would have to make the decision, is this something that we want to put to the voters? Do we want the community to vote on this? And what information do we need to provide them to help them make the best decision?
Okay. Mr. Breeding.
Can I ask you a question before you start that?
Sure.
We get 1 minute, right?
Yes.
Okay, I was confused.
Okay.
Okay, so, yeah, we're not rebuilding the wall here, so town halls, Facebook, websites, Lindbergh's got a great website. Clarification and clear communication, because Brad Kreischer just put something on Facebook announcing some of those changes you talked about. And it sounds like when you read into the bill more, it gives the community a lot of options, which is what I think we would need to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Watts?
Yeah, there would be an extensive process put in place. And part of that would also be examining the cost. So we've done a little bit of a cost analysis, but before we would decide, as a board, community would be involved, and then we would hear them, look at the cost, and then make a decision.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to start with you this time, Mr. Alonzo, and this is the third question about special school districts because there was a lot. A number of people, 4 I think, talked about the recent press coverage of some of the challenges and problems in the special school district. And in that analysis was a suggestion that there needed to be better trained staff, that teacher and assistant and other kinds of specialized staff shortages was contributing to this. If you are going to consider this issue, what do you think the shortcomings might be there? And how would you make sure that they were addressed, whether you stay in or you stay out?
I just want to clarify, so the challenges with getting SSD certified staff, you're asking what would the district then do if we are going to take this on in-house?
Or, do you recognize what the challenges are is the heart of the question. And then regardless of whether or not you decided to stay in and work with the special school district to make sure that Lindbergh students were taken care of, or you decided to go on your own, what would you do?
Okay, all right, thank you. Yeah, well, the best part about House Bill 2937, it gives Lindbergh a seat at the table. Currently, right now, SSD is able to make decisions on their own, where we don't really have an input in how things get done or how things get run in SSD. What it would allow us to do is now start thinking about what are the different ways that we can meet the needs of our students, which is the number one goal. We are not in the business of leaving students behind. We want to meet all the needs of our students. And so as I said earlier, that would be something that, again, in that 1 year time frame, these are all the questions that we would need to ask and we would need to have answers to before we were even to consider taking on our own SSD in-house.
Okay, Mr. Breeding, it's your turn.
Thank you. I've talked to a few people who I know that work for SSD, and they're aware of some of the shortcomings, but I think it's kind of a macroeconomic issue where everyone's having a problem finding employees. Wherever you work, seems to be a shortage of people that want to work and are willing to work. So I think working with the school district as SSD and get better trained people and take care of the needs of the students. We've done a great job, and they have too. It's just there's time to redo this.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Watts.
Okay. Yes, familiar with the challenges. I believe that it would actually be beneficial because if a student comes to us and they're needing to be assessed, we can take them down the hallway or schedule it for the next day. One of the challenges with SSD is we have to wait. Our parents have to wait and our students have to wait a couple of months before they're even assessed. And then we have to, is there enough teachers to cover them? Are their minutes being covered? Somebody's out, or another school needs them more than Lindbergh. Many times we don't get all the teachers that we need because we're Lindbergh, because they feel like you guys can pay for it. So I am very clear on the challenges.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lawson.
All right, so first and foremost, the challenges that we see, right, commenting on trained staff, Lindbergh teachers are our strongest asset. It's why Lindbergh is what it is our teachers. And I firmly believe that we would be able to build the workforce for meeting these special needs with more great Lindbergh teachers. And that's one of the big challenges today is it's nothing against our SSD teachers. I love every one of them that has worked with us, but they're working in a system that is not designed to support them the way it should be. Our system is designed to support our teachers. Our system can flex and help our teachers meet the individual needs of each student and get them where they need to be as quickly as possible. And that's what we look to solve with this kinds of thing. And then one other note is, while some districts struggle to find people to come work for them, Lindbergh doesn't have that problem. Lindbergh has a large audience of people that want to come work here.
Okay, I think we're going to start with you this time, Mr. Breeding. Am I right about that? Speaking of teachers and teacher excellence, there were several questions about the evaluation process for teachers. And people said that it was new. I don't quite know exactly how new it is, but I believe they're talking about the MEES evaluation system, if that makes sense to you. Okay. How has that worked? What are your thoughts about that? The current teacher evaluation system, and we're talking about the state.
It's not my turn, but let me clarify. So instead of map testing, like the scores, achievement scores, is that what the question's asking?
About the teacher evaluation, which is partly based on how students do, but the present teacher evaluation system,
Okay.
which is given to the superintendent to, in essence, assess your teachers.
That question's to me first, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to fool you. I have to learn more about it, so I'm going to
Okay.
pass on that one.
Okay,
There's no reason to mislead people.
yep. And that's why we all work together to get out very complicated explanations. Okay, Ms. Watts.
Okay, so is it new? I don't have the exact year, but when Dr. Lake came, he implemented a very fair process where teachers are evaluated each year. Our target is for our teachers to be exceptional and doing well in the classrooms. If we find that maybe they're not, then we do put them on a performance review, a PIP, like most companies do, and we try to help them. We coach them and mentor them to do better in the classroom. So I hope that's what you were looking for.
Okay. Mr. Lawson.
So as I said earlier, Lindbergh teachers are our strongest asset. And so I'm not familiar with the MEES. I think you said MEES.
Yeah.
So I will go back and look that up. I know our internal teacher evaluation program, I haven't heard negative feedback from it, from our teachers. From every indication where I'm sitting, it sounds like they're getting the support they need. We have a lot of growth and training opportunities that get put in there. There's a lot of coaching that goes into it. But I'm more than willing to hear if our teachers disagree with that.
Okay, thank you. And finally, you, Mr. Alonzo.
Yeah, I will say that, like with many new initiatives that Lindbergh does, there's always a period where they are investigating before they're implementing. And I know with the evaluation process, they are investigating it with teachers, cooperating with the NEA in Lindbergh. And so I feel like Lindbergh does work with their teachers in developing that evaluation process, and I have not heard any negatives about it either.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to get into some questions which I think are about controversies. So, and one of the measures of how we are a civil democracy is how well we talk about things that are controversial. So, everybody ready? Okay. And we're going to start with you this time, Ms. Watts. And there were 5 questions about a controversy which occurred in the last year or so about the pouring of concrete. And there was a number of questions about that and whether or not that concrete was poured before there were permits and whether or not $12 million was wasted. And the exact same language was used, not exactly in the question, but everybody pointed to the same number and the same issue. So people would like to know what happened with that, what was done with that, what the facts are about that, and you get 1 minute.
I get 1 minute for all that controversy, huh? Wow, okay. I believe everyone's referring to the gym, the green gym. When we started our construction at the high school, we did not have a green gym on the books. So we had to go and get a permit. Months upon months it took for us to get permits. And we asked the question, do we need to have a storm shelter, or can we count one of our other 2 gyms as a storm shelter? And the answer was, no, you don't need to add another building to make it a storm shelter. Then a few months later, as we started construction and the concrete was poured, the county came back and said, you need to add a storm shelter. And I think my time is up, so.
Okay? Mr. Lawson?
Yeah, I'll pick it up where she dropped it off there. So, again, we had checked with the county. If anybody has ever tried to get a permit through St. Louis County, it's anything but fast. And so we've had a shovel in the ground at Lindbergh for 8 years, and we've navigated a lot of these permits. And we had conversations early on to say, hey, when is, what do we need? What are the requirements? And we move forward with that plan based off the information we were given. The requirements changed mid-flight, and they came back and said, we checked when they talked about the requirements changing, we checked and said, hey, are we being held to the new standard or the old? And they said, no, you're still being held to the old. And then we moved further down the line, and then they said, oh, no, actually, you're being held to the new standard, and now you have to build this gym. So in the end, we ended up with another gym, which, by the way, is used to capacity at the regular. So it feels like it's something we still as a district needed and are making good use of.
Okay, Mr. Alonzo?
Yeah, so to add to what my colleagues also said, I think the biggest misconception out of all this is the thought that we had to take $12 million from somewhere else to pay for this. The $12 million came out of the bond that we had already had. What really had happened is we had to pivot some of our construction to build the gym. So we moved away from tearing down the library, which ended up being a great space for our gifted program, which Ms. Watz was the one that suggested that's what we turned that space into. The original plan was to tear down the library, but because we had to shift money to this gym, then we abandoned that project in order to meet the code that was sprung upon us at the end.
Okay, Mr. Breeding?
I redid my basement over the last few years. I didn't move without the county or Crestwood telling me it's okay. So, I'm sorry, I don't buy any of it. I just don't. And for someone to say the $12 million secret's out, watch the video. Everybody's laughing about the $12 million mistake or the surprise. It's not funny. And I think if you look into further certificates of participation, AKA COPS, that's more money that we had to spend on the project. So look into that. I will admit the green gym is good. Some of the new gyms we're building, sorry, they're not good. Why are we building these gyms if they don't fit regulations? AKA Crestwood Elementary, beautiful little gym, but it's not usable for people over 10 years of age.
Thank you very much. We're going to begin with you, Mr. Lawson, for the next question. And let me just say that 11 people submitted a question that was about this issue. So if you would answer it for yourself, and everybody will have an opportunity to answer it, are there any obstacles to you performing your duties as a Board of Education member that you have? Are there any obstacles that you have to you performing your duties as a Board of Education member?
No, I don't see any obstacles to me performing my duties as a Board of Education member.
Okay. All right. You, Mr. Alonzo?
No, I do not. I've been doing it since 2017, so I don't foresee anything changing for me either.
Okay, Mr. Breeding?
No, no.
Okay. Ms. Watts?
No, I don't have any obstacles. I'll be able to continue.
Okay. And we are going to start with you this time, I believe, Mr. Alonzo. And a related question, which was asked by, I think, 5 or 6 people. Do you have any conflicts of interest that would stand in the way of you doing a fair and ethical job as a Board of Education person that you would have to manage, that you would have to manage a conflict?
No, I do not have any conflicts of interest while being on the board. I believe, by definition, a conflict of interest would be I would not be able to vote on certain things because of a family member being within that, or a business of mine benefiting from any of that. So no, I do not have any conflicts of interest in that sense.
Okay. Mr. Breeding?
I don't have any conflict of interest unless Prairie Farms Dairy does the milk here. I work for Prairie Farms Dairy, so if we came to a vote on milk, I would have to abstain. I think the question's kind of silly because everyone might have a little something, but we're on the board and we're aware if we have a relationship, like Matt said, we would abstain from voting.
Yeah.
I have a daughter that works for ECE in Crestwood in the mornings, and I have a nephew that works at Long, so as a custodian. So if some of those things came up, I would not vote on those.
Okay. And I think the reason I asked it is because enough people who submitted questions were concerned about it that I asked it.
No, it's a good question.
So, all right, Ms. Watts.
I do not. I do not have any conflicts. Nothing financial, nothing relationship-wise. I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Lawson.
So I work for Ameren, in case you didn't know, and so out of an abundance of fair play and caution and making sure that there's no accusations of foul play, I abstain from voting to pay our electric bill every month. I do that intentionally just to make sure that there's no dotted lines made between my employment at Ameren and my service here in the district. And then my wife also works at Concord Elementary, and that's why the recusal process exists within the way we run our board. Those things are going to come up, and when they do, we take the appropriate action to remove ourselves from it.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Breeding, I think we're starting with you this time.
Great.
What do you believe the responsibilities of a school board member are to become familiar with the curriculum in the district?
100%. You have to become familiar with the school district's curriculum. And that's would be one of the learning curves I would have to learn, but I'm not worried about it. But you have to know the curriculum.
Okay. Ms. Watts.
Let's see, it sounds like it's specific to curriculum, but our job really is to evaluate one person in the district, and that's the superintendent. And we communicate with him, and then we also get information from administration as to what the curriculum is going to be. When we do changes, we see those. I don't go and read the books. I don't go deep dive because it's our relationship with him to be able to ask those questions and make sure we're headed in the right direction with the curriculum.
Okay. Mr. Lawson.
Yeah, to add into that, the role of the board is to govern through policy. And so we need to ensure that our policies are in place to support appropriate curriculum development. And if there does become a curriculum challenge, then that's why we put the people in place that are in place in the administration and across our teachers, again, our strongest asset there, to make sure that our curriculum meets the needs of our students. So.
Thank you. Mr. Alonzo.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. As a teacher, I know what is involved with becoming familiar with your own curriculum that you teach in your classroom, and you do want to dive deep into that. But as a board member, I do not have the time or the energy to dive deep into all the curriculum that is taught in every single classroom of the school. What I do have faith in is that our our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Tara Sparks, does take that opportunity to dive deep in, and she reports to us and lets us know about curriculum changes, about changes that are being made within the system as a whole. And I agree with Mr. Lawson. Our job is to govern the policies and procedures put in place to govern that.
Okay. I think we're starting with you this time, Ms. Watts. And let's continue talking about academics. A number of people wanted to know what you think the largest challenge is in the academic improvement of the district students and how that's being addressed.
Okay. We, as a public school district, are accountable for our achievement scores. So a few years ago, the MAP test is a one-time assessment, once a year. And we started to get those late. We would take it in the spring and we would get it in like October, December. So there's no way that we can use that information to help grow our students or help guide our students. We don't know if the curriculum's working because it's a one-time test. So we moved to the NWEA, which allows us to assess the students 3 times per year and also take each student and know where to help grow them the following year. And I think my time is up. So.
Okay, Mr. Lawson.
Yeah, I think from an academic perspective, Lindbergh regularly outperforms the state, but in an area that we could use improvement, I think our math scores are not where we as a community would like them, and we saw that, and to address that, we just recently hired a district level math coordinator to help review that curriculum and make sure that we have the right programs and supports in place, and that we're giving the support to our teachers across the district to meet the students where they are and help them through that challenge. I know math is not my strong piece. That's why I didn't become an engineer. And I'm sitting up here instead.
Mr. Alonzo.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges in education right now is artificial intelligence. And Lindbergh has done an absolute fabulous job both embracing AI and bringing it into the classrooms. Colin Davitt is such a wonderful leader in that area and has brought that education to teachers and has brought training to them about here's how you can use AI in the classroom so that the AI can become more of a thinking partner for our students instead of a resource for just giving the answers. And so I think that's the biggest challenge, but like many things that Lindbergh does, we lead the way in that. And we are a leader in the area where many districts are just kind of burying their head in the sand and hoping AI will just go away, where we're embracing it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Breeding.
I think the largest challenge might just be focusing on the basics. Seems to me that there's a lot of fluffy stuff that we might not want to do. It'd have to be looked into, but focus on the basics.
Okay, thank you. I believe we're going to start with you this time, Mr. Lawson. We're going to change the topic a bit. And that is a number of people, 10 to be exact, talked about the cost of pre-K early childhood education in the district. And they wanted to know if you believe in moving toward free pre-K education for every district student or not, and what steps you could take to try to do that. So if you say no, you don't have to give the steps. How about that?
Fair enough. In a perfect world with a golden checkbook, I would absolutely say, let's pay for pre-K for everybody. Unfortunately, from a fiscal perspective, it's not an option right now. We don't get the support from the state that we would need to have a program like that. Our early childhood education is one of the more expensive pieces, believe it or not, because it requires the most hands-on, the highest number of staff to student ratio, just at that level. So it's not a small ask. If there's a way to do it, I would love to do it. If there's a way to offset it, it'd be amazing. My children benefited from ECE, but I don't see how we could do that and be fiscally responsible.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Alonzo?
Yeah, I would have to agree with Mr. Lawson. If we were able to offer pre-K, free pre-K to early childhood to our youngest students, it would be great. We would be setting them up greatly for success, but I don't believe we have the ability or the capability of doing something on that scale, on that magnitude. As someone who paid for pre-K education and also had to pay for kindergarten education for my own children, I would love that for families out there. I know what kind of cost savings that would give you, but I just don't think it's possible.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Breeding?
Mr. Alonzo stole my thunder. My kids were just finishing kindergarten, and then it was free. I'm like, honey, we could have got a new refrigerator. So there's no way we'll ever be able to afford that, and I'm definitely not for going out to get more money for that from the residents of Lindbergh school districts. We all somehow made it paying for pre-K, paying for kindergarten. I think people will find a way.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Watts?
Agree. There's financially right now, there's not a way to provide pre-K for free, but I think it's great. We need it. It's necessary. So in the future, if we have the opportunity, absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think we're going to start this time with you, Mr. Alonzo. There were 3 questions about the grading system in the high schools. And if you could explain maybe cursorily what it is and how do you think it's working?
Okay, so I believe the question might be alluding to a standards-based grading system. From my understanding, that has not fully made its way into the high school in full. It is something that they were exploring in the middle school levels. Again, this is another thing that Lindbergh does. They investigate these opportunities. They go to schools to see what they do for their standards-based grading, and they try to come up with a system that will work for their students, but they don't just blindly implement this grading system. My children all went through the high school with a traditional grading system. I'm in favor of a standards-based grading system to give students feedback on where they are, where their learning is, and what they would need improvement on.
Okay, Mr. Breeding.
Thank you. I attended the Education Plus seminar last night as a webinar about being on the school board. And the goal of the school board is, they said these things, roles and responsibilities, clarify district purpose and goals, hire a superintendent and delegate authority for management and operations, monitor district performance, connect with the community, responsible for board policies and practices. So I can't really answer to the grading system. I can just tell you our job.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Watts?
Sure. I believe it is a standards-based grading system, and we have not implemented that in the high school. Our challenge is the whole world is so used to ABCD. I won't go F because we don't get Fs, but and that translating to university, because university is still on the ABC system. There's also grade point averages, there are AP classes with weighted. So I think that's our challenge with implementing it. And we've had committees talk and discuss about it, and we just have not moved that to the high school. But the bonus or the advantage is, again, we can assess those abilities for our students and help them grow.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lawson.
Yeah, so when we talk about standards-based grading, it's what's used in the elementary schools. And then come into middle school and there's a transition from 6th grade to 8th grade where you move out of standards-based and into traditional grading that we all went through. And in the high school today, it's still, you end up with a grade point average, you get a letter grade. And to Ms. Watts's point, it's in order to help make sure that when they move on to their next step, be it college or whatever, they're still able to meet the requirements there. We do have a task force in place now, investigating and looking to see, hey, is there a way? Because there's a lot of benefits to standards-based grading. It lets you identify, it lets you come out of how did you do on this test and into, as a teacher, you can show me how you mastered this skill. It lets you individualize that skill assessment to each student. And I think it's absolutely valuable. Standards-based grading does a better job of proving growth versus just can you fill this out or not. So,
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to start with you this time, Mr. Breeding.
Okay.
And there were several questions about social emotional learning. And there were 2 questions that were quite long, actually, and included citations about the research that has been done on this that says that it is good for students. The questions were evenly divided, I thought. And then there were a couple of questions that clearly did not support that and wanted to know if the district should move away from that. And so I wanted you to know the whole gamut here, okay? So I think what I want to ask is, what is your position on social emotional learning, and what do you think the district ought to do?
I think we have to take care of our students' mental health as well as, learning, writing, reading. So today, I tend to think we lend too much to the district to raise our kids. That's what I think. But I think the mental health is very important. So social, emotional learning is part of that. Keep doing it until we find out it doesn't work.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Watts?
Yeah, we have to support it. With the use of cell phones, with the use of social media, our students, there's higher rates of anxiety, there's higher rates of depression, there's higher rates of suicide. So parents can take care of that at home, but we have to support that too, because sometimes the children don't want to talk to their parents. Like, I have 3 teenage girls. They don't tell me what's going on at school. So I believe we have to support it. We have to put some tools in place to help them regulate and deal with their emotions. So I think it's a balance, but I do think we have to have it.
Mr. Lawson?
So gone are the days of the small isolated community that has, just everybody knows everybody, and, if you're acting up out on the street, your mom's going to get a call from the person down the road. Some of our neighborhoods are still that way, but that's just not the community that our students are growing up in. They're part of a global community now. When you've got the internet at your fingers at any given time, you're going to be exposed to people across the spectrum of society. And our children are forced with trying to navigate things that adults struggle to navigate in that environment. So any tools, any supports that we can give them to better navigate this challenging landscape that we've thrust upon them just as a society, I think we should. So I'm fully in support of social emotional learning.
Mr. Alonzo?
Yeah, I too am in support of social emotional learning. As a teacher, I saw firsthand when students came back from the COVID pandemic that they had to do some adjusting, going from online learning back to in-person learning. And social emotional learning played a big part in that. And I think through that, we have realized that our students not only need the education that we give them, but they also need those skills, like Mr. Lawson was saying, those skills that even adults struggle with. And I think any opportunity that we can give our students to be better citizens in our community will just build our community up even more.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to start with you this time, Ms. Watts. There were several questions about where the district is in its diversity efforts, and two people called it DEI efforts, particularly given the environment in which we are living, where we are debating what that means and what we should do, and efforts on the state and the federal level to diminish those, if not eliminate them. So the question is, do you support those kinds of efforts, and what is Lindbergh doing about those issues?
I definitely do, because we want to be a school district that has, how do I say this? Belonging. We want students to belong here. We have a high international population here of our students, and we want them to feel welcome. We want them to feel at home. At one point, I had said on the bathrooms, let's put 3 languages on there so that they feel comfortable and confident. Our teachers go through training, and we just had a night for Ramadan so that people could learn what that was about. We have Black History Month. So we try to include multiple diverse cultures in our activities that we do. And I do think it's important so everyone feels like they belong.
Okay, Mr. Lawson.
So I mentioned earlier that I was a veteran. One very glaring similarity between the military and public education, there's a lot of them, but one very glaring one is the fact that you don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know who you're going to be working next to. Any child that moves into our community is entitled to an education in our building, regardless of where they come from. Diversity is what makes a team strong. Diversity is what keeps us from all doing the groupthink that we often get accused of. Diversity is foundational to Lindbergh's success story. So we have to continue our diversity efforts and make sure that we meet students where they are, let them see themselves, let them know that they belong as part of this community, and just because they don't look like the person sitting next to them, that's not a bad thing.
Okay. Mr. Alonzo.
Yeah, I also am in favor of the district's efforts in diversity. I think, like Mr. Lawson is saying, the idea of making our students feel like they belong in our community is in large part will in large part lead to their success. When you feel like you belong to a community, you feel like you're invested in it. You will work harder to be a part of it. You will do your part into making that community even better. So I do agree with our efforts in that area, and I as a teacher, I know firsthand the importance of also recognizing that your students may learn differently because of their culture or their background.
Mr. Breeding.
Thank you. I'm all for diversity efforts. I question how far we go. Where do you draw the line? But that's for a different debate. I personally experienced the start of desegregation at Lindbergh High, I think in 1982, when I was a freshman. And I thought we did a good job of welcoming all the desegregation students. I remember just off the top of my head, there was a lot of buses, a lot of cabs, a lot of this. But looking back 44 years ago, we loved it. we got to meet new people, and it was just an enriching environment. I have more to say, but my time's up, so it's all good. It's all good.
Okay,
I was there.
all right. So I think we start with you this time, Mr. Lawson, is that right? Okay. A related question, and since 3 people asked it, I'm going to ask it. And that is, when we talk about diversity, are we also paying attention to Christian religious practices? I don't want to say cultural practices because that doesn't exactly fit, and that's not what they were asking about. So what they were asking about is, do we also pay attention to Easter and Lent like we do Ramadan or something else? And they were asking that question about those efforts in curriculum.
That's a good question. I don't know how much attention gets paid to Christianity specifically. I know that religion is a very large part of many people's lives, and again, from a diversity and a mirrors and windows perspective, we want to make sure that we acknowledge every person's story and every person's background and every person's culture and support that. It's a fine line when there's a line between acknowledging a religion and enforcing a religion, and we have to steer clear of the second part of that for sure. I know my daughter did just do a Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism assignment in 8th grade. So it's in there. I didn't take that class, so I don't know exactly what it was, but it's worth discussing for sure.
Okay, Mr. Alonzo.
Yeah, so I am in favor of separation of church and state. So just to say that we need to bring religion into our educational system, I think you got to be really careful with that. So if you say, let's bring Christianity into the school, well, if you bring that, you're going to have to bring all other religious beliefs as well in there.
Can I clarify myself, because I don't want to be
Sure.
confusing. In all of these questions, it was clear to me that they were talking about the inclusion of all religions in terms of an informational exercise, not bringing religion into the school. So all of the questions we're talking about, if we learn about other religions, do we also expose students to learning about Christianity so that everyone is recognized, not bringing Christianity or any other kind of religious practices into the school?
Yes,
So,
yes.
I'm sorry, but I want that to be clear.
So I was also going to add to what I was saying, that if we have a religious studies class, right, so that is a specific place for those conversations to happen, then yes, you do cover all of the religions that the teacher, I don't know how many religions are out there. There's probably many religions, but again, if you are going to allow the religious studies class, you allow any religion to come into that. I will say that in my environment, in my school where I teach, we are told as teachers about things like Rosh Hashanah, things like Ramadan, so that we know that there may be extenuating circumstances for our students. So a student who is practicing Islam and is participating in Ramadan, they are not eating during the day. So we can be aware of that culture that they have so that we are not bringing in a food unit study into our classroom or something like that. So I think there is some limitations there.
Okay, Mr. Breeding?
I think awareness of religions, just like Mr. Alonzo said, is the best bet. I will tell you a quick story, though. So I had a chicken and pickle off-site party, if you will, with students here. And Chicken and Pickle offered the National Alliance of Mentally Illness, NAMI, to present to us, and they'd give us free pickleball. Up the ladder, they said, no, we don't want NAMI talking to our students. Does everyone know what NAMI is? I mean, it's the biggest mental health organization in town. And yet my boss's boss's boss said, heck no, we don't want it. Disparaging, sorry.
Ms. Watts, I think you have the last word on this,
Do I get the last word?
this time.
This time, okay. We did switch our Christmas parties to holiday parties to be inclusive of all religions, because as I mentioned, we have many international students. I do feel like we're fair to all religions. I don't think we throw out Christianity or any other. We educate to all. So, and we celebrate as many as we can, but we can only celebrate so many times, so.
Okay. I'm going to ask a couple of questions about how a school board functions and about the requirements for a superintendent, because several people asked these questions. So the first question is, do you believe that public comment should be limited to what is on the agenda in the open meeting? And two people said they understood the system, and I clarified this so that I wouldn't misrepresent it, that if someone wants to talk about something that's not an agenda item, that they submit a form with their question or their issue on it, and they go to a member of the administration, usually the superintendent, and then that's the way that's handled. So the question is, do you support changing to a system in school board meetings where public comment could address any issue? Why or why not?
I believe that's me
Yeah,
to
that's
start,
you.
right? Okay, all right.
I'm looking at the wrong person, I'm sorry.
So Lindbergh did change its policy to the current policy where if you want to speak on a non-agenda item, you do first need to fill out the form and then speak to somebody in the district, whether it's a superintendent or the director of curriculum instruction, about your concerns. And after speaking to them about your concerns, after going to the source, if you wanted that item to be placed on the agenda, then you can have it put on the agenda. So I support our current policy. I would not support just anyone coming up to make a public comment about anything. And the reason behind that is when it's not on our agenda, we don't get to talk about it up here on the board. We will not address any non-agenda items that are brought to us because everything that we speak about has to be on the agenda before the actual meeting. So what tends to happen is somebody will come up, they will say what they need to say, and then we have to sit there in silence without responding. And I think that leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth.
Mr. Breeding.
Thank you. Here's where I totally disagree. When I was acting mayor in Crestwood, I threw those meetings wide open. I even allowed public to talk during our debates, and it was rich. It was good conversation. The only drawback is those meetings lasted forever. So, it was good stuff. And we had some funky things going on at that time with this Crestwood Save the Silly building over there by Big Lots or the Social Security building. It was crazy times over nothing. But I let them speak, and like I said, the only downfall is we had meetings that went until midnight a lot. But it was open communication.
Ms. Watts.
I do agree with our current process of what we're doing. We do have to stick to the agenda, so when people would come and talk to us, we literally couldn't say anything and then afterwards send them an email. This way, they can actually speak to an administrator or Dr. Lake and express their opinions or try to work through the situation. And it can come before us if the issue isn't solved. So I do agree with it. I think it's a good method. It's a good method to keep our meetings on track and follows our agenda, which is what we're supposed to do.
Thank you. Mr. Lawson.
Yeah, I agree. The policy we have in place now, we did that in response to changes to state law that had a mandate. in order to provide it a specific way, and so we aligned with state law, as we have to, right? And I think ultimately, when you look at the process as it is today, if your goal is to come in and get your question answered, our current process is the fastest way for you to get your question answered. If your goal is to come in and talk at the board, you still have that option. You can talk to Dr. Lake or talk to whoever it is they hand you to in the beginning and say, okay, you didn't satisfy, I still want this on the agenda, and then you can come talk to us. But you're gonna, in this scenario, it gives us the opportunity to talk back because we know what you're bringing forward and we can be prepared to hear you and meet you where you are versus the previous where it was, you got 2 minutes, say what you want to say and carry on.
Okay. Before I ask the last question, I want to give everybody hope out there, okay? I want to give you the flavor of a number of questions about your personal goals and skills and gifts and why you would be a good school board member. So people talked about your educational background, your professional background. They talked about whether or not you were good at working with others, how you handled controversies, how well you worked with teachers and staff in the kinds of issues where you do. And I understand that in this system, the superintendent is your employee. And so, but they wanted to know about, those kinds of things about you, or what drives you to run right now. And so I'm just telling you that before we get to the last question, so you can think about that for that final closing. Here's the last question. And there was a lot of questions about endorsements. And there were close to 15 of them. And they were primarily about the NEA. So what I want to ask is, do you believe that in school board elections, that organizational endorsements, and I'm going to make it broader because other organizations also do endorsements, but I also want to tell you truthfully that a lot of these questions were about the NEA. Do you believe that in school board elections that we should try to, people are asking, eliminate those endorsements? I don't think you can do that legally. But place less of an emphasis on that. And so I'm trying to tell you what people were concerned about, and at the same time tell you I sort of know, what the law is and all those kinds of things. But can we deal with endorsements, I guess, the spirit of all of these questions, in a different kind of way? So, Mr. Breeding, you get first shot.
That's a good question, and I think the problem with the NEA endorsement is something with dark money and that they really shouldn't be endorsing candidates. It's complicated. But if you want to endorse someone, endorse someone. I'm not going to try and make a group do what they don't want to do. I just think it has to be above board and legal.
Ms. Watts.
I view it this way. They want to endorse candidates, and they are our greatest number of employees, and they teach our students, and they're wonderful, and that's who we work for. We work to protect them. We work to create a nice environment for them. We get endorsements from unions, also other unions. If we wanted to, we could seek out endorsements from other political figures, but we're nonpartisan, so we don't typically do that. I personally think it's okay if the community, if a lot of people push back or it changes. I mean, I get it due to competition, but I think it's a good thing. I think it's good that the community sees that the largest body endorses us. Or that person, I should say.
Mr. Lawson.
So I've said it a couple times, our teachers are our greatest asset. If you take the teachers out of our school, all you have is a brick building. So I fully believe in hearing their voice. I'm proud to be LNEA endorsed. I'm proud to know that the teachers trust me to ensure that this stays a great place to work in St. Louis, right? I take great pride in that, and I wouldn't shut it down at all. I take issue with accusations of dark money and the like, just because anybody who's done anything with this knows there's a whole lot of campaign finance law, and it's all very public and all very down to the penny. So I encourage you to go out to the MEC website and check out and see what's going on out there, and that'll tell you where every dollar, every cent is going and coming from.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Alonzo.
Yeah, so I'm a proud member of the NEA. I pay my dues into NEA because I believe that it is a union that helps protect teachers and helps protect their interest in a school. And so to have their backing in the school board election, I am honored to have their backing, because what it does is it says that we as teachers, we believe in you, we believe in your work, we believe in your ethics, and we believe that you can serve this district well. And so I hope that over the last 9 years I have done that. I'm proud to say that I've had their endorsement each year running for the board, and I appreciate their endorsement. I really, this year, I have not received a nickel from the NEA. All it is the endorsement that we support you as a candidate for Lindbergh Schools.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're ready for the closing statements, and we're going to start with you this time, Mr. Lawson, and work up the board. But I want to say just one thing. I just got a very good question, and it was about this district working with other districts in terms of early childhood education, the SSD, et cetera, and working together to provide certain kinds of learning environments. So I hope the person that wrote that question will come up here at the end and talk to these folks about that. And I'm sorry I didn't get it sooner, or else I would have asked it. So just wanted to say that. 2 minutes.
All right. So I'll close in thanks. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight and hearing what we had to say and submitting your questions and being invested in the future of this district. As I said, I'm here for the long run. I've got a kindergartner, a third grader, and an eighth grader. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm going to do everything I can. I'll continue to serve in any way that you'll allow me to. I believe in this district. I believe in this school. I believe in this community. And while I can't claim the legacy of having grown up and matriculated through Lindbergh, I'm very, very proud to be able to say that my children will be able to say that they graduated from Lindbergh. It's a point of pride for me, and I intend to keep it. And I'll do whatever I can to continue to keep this district moving forward and building our students' future ready. So again, my name's Andrew Lawson, and I hope you'll vote for me on April 7th. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Watts.
We're going in reverse, okay. I would just like to thank everyone for being here this evening. I am a huge public education supporter. I grew up in a public school. I think public schools are phenomenal. Missouri has the best public schools. In my career, I help people relocate to different cities across the United States. And I have heard stories of people who have to apply to 12 schools to see if they can get into one. I have heard people put in applications. They have to wait. They've moved. They have to wait 3 months to get into a school there. So I am a huge supporter of public schools. I am proud also that might tear up a little bit, that my daughters will graduate from here. Oh, goodness. And I love our staff, love our teachers, love our community. I'm here to serve, and just keep us going in the right direction. It's going to be tough the next 2 years. And I don't want to scare anybody, but it is. They're changing so many things in Jeff City, and I want to be here for that. I want to lead and direct. Woo. And please vote for me on April 7th. I'm number 3 on the ballot. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Breeding.
Thank you. Yeah, I love Lindbergh. I was a flyer before I was born. I also taught graduate school at Missouri State University, so I do understand how it is to teach, because I taught 2 years at Missouri State. And then the other thing is, a magical time was 1985 when I was a leader on the water polo team that won the state championship. And I just remember the whole school united singing H2O Polo, let's go. Those are magical times. And so I want to keep doing that. And I love Lindbergh so much that when I got my divorce, I made sure I got a place in Lindbergh to stay in Lindbergh. And so I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Yes, I do have tradition. Everyone in my family, except for 2 nieces, went to Lindbergh. And I think sometimes they have Lindbergh envy because they didn't go. They went to Ursuline, good school. But I will promise this, pulling back on the Facebook stuff, because that's downright embarrassing. If you have a question, call me.
Okay, thank you very much. And finally, you, Mr. Alonzo.
Yes, so I too want to thank everyone for coming out this evening, and those of you watching online as well. Mr. Lawson, my father, my brother, they all fought for us to have the right to vote. So no matter who you vote for on April 7th, please go out and vote. It is your civic duty to do so. I am so grateful to have served on the board for the past 9 years. It really is my greatest honor to this point in my life. I have loved serving the district faithfully and being there for the decisions, both good decisions, both tough decisions. So I look forward to serving the district in the future. If you will have my vote on April 7th, my name is Matt Alonzo, and I'm first on the ballot. Thank you.
Okay, I think we ought to give them all a round of applause. Now, I have a couple of quick comments to leave you with here. And that is, these are tough times. And if you found this useful, as opposed to a rant or a screaming or people who cannot have a civil conversation, this is what the League of Women Voters is trying to model, and to not spread misinformation. And so if you found this useful, think about joining us. We are absolutely overwhelmed with jobs that we have to do this year. Some nights we're doing 3 forums at the same time. We're fighting in court so that people have the right to vote. And we're doing other things as well. So think about joining us. We are a nonpartisan organization. We support issues, but we don't support candidates or political parties. Or think about donating to us. We have 2 staff, that is all we have, and we cover this entire region. And so we could use your help. I'll simply say that. But many hands on deck is going to be required this election season. To get the information you need, I have good news tonight. Vote 411, our voter's guide that we do with the Post-Dispatch, is live. We tried to make it live earlier because people are voting earlier. And so all you have to do is do vote411.org, put in your address, it will bring up your ballot. I can tell you that there were almost 1,100 candidates because we do 5 counties and the city. There were 106 ballot issues. There are more complicated tax issues than you would ever like to see on this ballot. And so I urge you to start early, and it's not just about knowing where you're going to vote, although in the county you can vote anywhere. You know this, right? You can vote where you pick up your kids, where you work, by your house, any place. 2 weeks of no excuse, not having to give a reason, absentee voting 2 weeks before the election. That's also something to think about. If you have people in your lives who need an absentee ballot or need to get on the permanent disability list, have them do that now. The last day to register for this election is March the 11th, okay? But you could do that online and then present your ID when you go to the polling place, okay? So yes, that is today. And so, but you know, midnight is a ways away. So I'm just telling you, but you can get on there and get the information that you need. If you have questions when you read the explanation of these ballot issues, or you read the information about the candidates, please call the League of Women Voters office. We have volunteers there who can try to answer your questions. And I will simply tell you, as the person who leads up the team to write those 106, they were harder than any group I've ever done. And I had to call in the troops, lawyers, the Missouri Budget Project, the state legislature, because of particularly the tax issues. So do not feel inadequate if you read those explanations, although we tried to make them as clear as we could and you still didn't understand them. Call and we'll do the best we can to answer your questions. If you need anything else about what you need to go to the polls, and you know you need a valid state-issued photo ID to go, although I will tell you, if somebody you know does not have that, they can still vote a provisional ballot. It's called a provisional ballot. It is set aside, and then the election board will try to verify the signature, the information, et cetera, et cetera. So we all need to get exactly what we need to vote. And it is more important than ever to do these kinds of things. And I urge all of you to contact 5 people that you know apiece who are thinking about, I'm not going to vote, not voting for the president, you know, and to say it's important. And because there's a lot going on and everything is changing. So I hope you found this useful. This is what we do because this is our mission. And thank you very much for letting us come.